days to come. B. Grand Duke.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. So we've got an awesome Keep Twitch for you. We are talking with the great developers who worked on our interactive story summary. So if you don't know what that is or haven't had a chance to press that awesome little play button in the Keep, it's our HTML5 story about your Dragon Age, and these are the fellows who helped us build it. So maybe take a minute, say hi, introduce yourselves, and tell us a bit about what you do.
Sure. I'm Grant Skinner. I run a shop called G Skinner. We do interactive experiences, all kinds of different things, but a lot of it is web-based. And we worked with Corey at Pulp, and I'll let him introduce himself.
I'm Corey Lansdell. I'm one half of Pulp Studios. My business partner Kelly Mellings isn't here today. We do everything from animation, illustration. Those are kind of our focal points. We love story, and we try to put a really high level of craft into everything we do. We're in a little shop in Edmonton here. We contract out to a lot of people, and like Grant said, I've had the privilege of working with G Skinner a few times. So.
Yeah, cool. So yes, both of these fellows are here in Edmonton with us at the Bioware studio. So that's awesome. We actually got them in person. So maybe tell us a bit about what it was like working with Dragon Age and preparing for the project, as it was a big, interesting experience that we built.
Definitely. I mean, I was really excited to get involved with the project. A big honor. We've worked with BioWare in the past, and it was always a ton of fun. I'm a big Dragon Age fan, so this was an excuse to go back and play through DAO and DA2 again, sort of on the clock, if you will, right? I mean, my wife couldn't complain because it was for work. And then just the technology brief, like what we were being asked to do, seemed really exciting and really in line with a lot of stuff that we've been playing with recently anyway. And it was a great opportunity to sort of take those things and apply them in the real world and see how they turned out.
Cool.
Yeah, likewise for me. I played DAO when it came out, and when Grant approached us about the project, I kind of nerded out a little bit. I was like, yeah, that's awesome. I've always, loved the kind of work that you guys put out, and always had a really strong interest in video games. So it was a real privilege to be able to have the opportunity to work with Grant and with BioWare on this. For me, it was kind of one of those bucket list things to be awesome. We worked on this really cool project for a AAA, franchise game, and the storytelling is fantastic in it. And so it's just overall a privilege to be able to be a part of that experience.
Yeah.
And working on it, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, so cool. Yeah, Varric is also awesome. There's nothing wrong with listening to him narrate a few times. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. So maybe tell us a bit, the ISS is a little special for a few reasons, from both a technology perspective and sort of the way you can edit your choices and it reacts to what you're doing. So maybe tell us a little bit about HTML5 versus, a lot of people assume it's a Flash movie, but of course it works on all your devices. So if you know a few things about the web, it's not Flash, but maybe Grant can tell us a little bit about how it's actually built.
Totally. I'll try not to get too nerdy with it. So, I mean, traditionally, me and my company worked with a lot of Flash content. And, Flash is obviously sort of declined as a technology. It's not available on all devices. But we really liked a certain class of the content that you could build with Flash. And, this was kind of the thing, right? Animation, interaction. And so we wanted to do that same type of content, but using HTML5. And we wanted to make it so that it would run everywhere, both today and kind of in the future. And so rather than just make a bunch of videos, which would be sort of the obvious choice, and stitch them together to make them interactive, we decided to go with vector animation. And so vector animation is infinitely scalable. We can make this play back on a 60-inch TV in full fidelity, or we can make it play back on a tiny touchscreen. We're also able to do all kinds of neat stuff with it. We can change the rate of playback so that we can sync with localized audio. We can manipulate different things in real time, and we get really tiny file size with it. So instead of loading a 10 meg video, we can do 2 minutes of animation in like 100 kilobytes. So when you're sitting on your mobile phone, it comes down really fast, and we're actually able to preload content, so you never really see a load bar, right? Maybe just right when you start it up for the first time, but not as you progress through the experience.
Yeah, that's really cool. So how do you go about animating something like this that's built in all these pieces that we stitch together like that?
It's an interesting process. For me, one of the challenges up front was looking at the tool set and discovering that it's kind of almost a little bit in its infancy in some ways, because it's sort of taking Flash and what it's traditionally used for and how we've used it as an animation tool, and taking those tool sets and sort of stripping them down to the basics in many ways, but then trying to work with those to create something that's as lush and as rich in experience. So that was one of the sort of initial challenges that we faced on the animation side, and then working with the different choice selections and just the complexity of the storytelling was challenging too, from the perspective of when does this scene plays out, then what does this choice play, and how do we stitch those together in a fashion that it will make sense when it all plays and when you're switching your choices in the ISS, right? So there's definite challenges from sort of the structure of story and the technical application. Thankfully, Grant and his team did an amazing job being the originator of the Create.js and everything that the tool set we're using. They set us up with really great tools to be able to use so that our process with animating was as smooth as it could be. And we didn't have technical roadblocks that we had to overcome. It was just roadblocks in terms of animating and working out those details within the story and the approach. So that's always a privilege, to have that from a creative perspective. You're not wrestling with the tool set. You're just able to mash through the creative aspects and then get down to the meat and potatoes of it.
I think that was kind of one of the things that was really fun about this was, we were doing something that really hadn't been done before, not just in terms of the technology, but also in terms of the tools that we were using. And, we were able to, you guys trusted in us enough for us to say, well, we're pretty sure we can do this. And you kind of gave us the lead to go out and do it. And we were able to sort of build custom tools for Pulp and work with them super closely and integrate our efforts so that their creative really flowed directly into the technology and turned into the experience that we have today.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the neatest parts about the interactive story summary is that in the future, because of the way it's built, we can take out pieces of it, we can keep growing it based on feedback, we can sort of adjust it, and I think today we'll be showing a brand new part of the ISS that's meant to go closer into Dragon Age Inquisition. So I hope people will really look forward to seeing their story more in the future. But speaking of the future and kind of what we can do with this, what would be the neatest, coolest thing that you would like to see added to this or done with this technology now that you've had a chance to work with it that maybe Dragon Age fans would also enjoy? Not to put you terribly on the spot.
I know, this is totally. If you could just predict the future for us. I think there's lots of opportunities to use like smaller pieces of this throughout the keep. It's a really cheap, easy way to load in animation. So you could see, I'm just kind of pitching you new work. You could see some of the tiles sort of animating in and having different layers of them and not really bumping up the file size too much. Again, the fact that this is all vector content lends itself to all kinds of mediums. So you can see people like, taking assets and like printing off sort of their story or something. Do people print things anymore?
I think you hit on two of our big pieces of feedback. Can I see my tapestry, all the tiles animate, and can I have a printed version of my tapestry? So, it's good.
Great.
Good to know you're on
the
feedback. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Corey, any thoughts?
For me, it's I think there's sort of two aspects to what I would love to see. I think as the technology advances and as we go forward, I'd love to see sort of pushing some of the animation aspects a little bit further, figuring out ways to sort of bridge from, a little bit more depth in terms of character exploration or scene exploration. it's challenging with regard to speed and ability across different devices. But you know, I think that we're just scratching at the surface right now, and I think there's a lot more that we could try and do down the road.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I know optimizing the animations is
Yeah.
quite a challenge.
Yeah, that's
so
been a long and interesting process, right? Just
Yeah.
figuring out, you know, which areas can we optimize in, whether it's vector points or, you know, types of information that we're putting into the animations, and trying to get those things running the best that they can across the board in terms of devices. So
It's definitely a common conversation for us. Yeah, it looks great on desktop, Corey.
Yeah.
But have you looked at it on mobile?
yes.
yeah, and that's, I think that might be a, you know, an ongoing point of growth that we can work on too, is just getting those things tighter, and going forward we have an understanding now of what works really well and what's more cumbersome. So, you know, making those considerations as we delve into more work, hopefully, and expand things. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I know it's been a big hit with the fans.
That's
and
great.
Yeah, we look forward to maybe pushing the boundaries a little bit further
Yeah,
and
cool.
maybe animating your tapestry. You never know. So
Sweet.
that sounds like a massive project and many late nights for Corey, so maybe not. But yeah, thank you so much for coming. And maybe we're going to show, I think, next a new part of the ISS that's meant to kind of take you up to Dragon Age Inquisition. It's really cool, a lot of fun, and you'll see it in the Keep very soon. And maybe we'll let Patrick go and roll that.
Thetis is a land filled with many dangers, dragons, darkspawn, and terrible magic. Empires have risen, fallen, and been forgotten. In the Dragon Age, the one element that binds us together and protects us is the guidance of the Chantry. Magic exists to serve man and never to rule over him. With that line, the Chantry has kept mages under its thumb for 1,000 years, locking them up in the circle of Magi towers under the careful watch of Templar guardians. All of that changed in Kirkwall. There, the Templars went too far, and the mages finally rose up against them. It was a battle that drowned the city in blood, a battle that didn't end even when the fighting stopped. It became a sign of the days to come. The Mage Rebellion in Kirkwall was felt throughout Thetis, the news spreading like wildfire. The Templars clamped down in response, but each new restriction only made things worse. Led by Grand Enchanter Fiona, the mages voted for independence. The Circle of Magi would govern itself, without the Chantry and especially without the Templars. The result was cataclysmic. 2 circles were destroyed. Those within killed to the last mage, before the rest fled into the wilderness. Perhaps the mighty Empire of Orlais could have intervened in the war before it began, but that was not to be. Grand Duke Espard began a deadly civil war against Empress Celine, vying for the Orlesian throne. The mages were offered safe haven in neighboring Ferelden, but the Templars followed, and so their battle spread across all of Thetis. As head of the Chantry, Divine Justinia ordered the Templars to stand down. They refused, declaring their own independence. Thus, the war began in earnest. Templars hunting mages, mages fighting Templars. Their clashes wreaked untold destruction, and all sense of order was falling to pieces. Divine Justinia made one final desperate bid to end the war. She approached the leaders of both sides and convinced them to come to a conclave held on neutral ground. With the Chantry to mediate, mages and Templars will talk for the first time since this all began. It is our last, and perhaps our only, chance for peace.
Hey everyone, and we're back. So, as you see, we've changed out a few people on the couch here.
We've morphed.
Yes,
Yes.
morphed.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have Fernando with us. Say hello, Fernando.
Hey guys.
And of course, Renata.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. And I noticed we're black and white today, so that's great.
Yes,
Awesome.
Coordinated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Good.
Good thinking.
Planned a few things here today. And so I think we're going to take you through one of the most important parts of getting ready for Inquisition. As you all know, that's coming up very quick, and some of you have already played a little bit, but for those of you who haven't and are maybe going to work on your keeps this weekend, let's take you through how to get ready and show off our new World State Manager that did make it live. I think we were one day late, or...
No, we did it
Yeah.
on the same day.
Oh, we did. Okay, yes.
Yep, as
Just a
early
little bit
access.
later.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll show you a few things, but as you all know and maybe have had a chance to get on and see, and if you haven't, this is our brand new fancy World State Manager. So as you can see, this is my Dragon Age Inquisition world that I'm setting up with all my great choices, and I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows you only have to make the choices that you want. So I set up my lovely Alistair romance and my Warden's alive.
Don't show Justin that.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, I hope he's watching.
Mostly to spite Justin, mostly. So that's awesome, and really glad I set that up. So you can see here my profile. So I've got my Inquisition world, and I just want to note that if you're looking for how to edit your name and description, you can do that in the new World State Manager section. So I know we got a few questions on that, so might as well let everyone
Yeah.
know about that. As well, take a look at your summary here, so make sure your hero looks right and all your choices look right. And then the most important part is this great little export to DA Inquisition button, as well as we've got this little DAI monitor piece. Now it's in its red state because I need to go ahead and export that. So we'll hit yes, continue. And now you'll notice that I have this great little timestamp. So when you go into Dragon Age Inquisition, you'll go through the character creation screen, and I think Renata's
No, it's not actually the character creation. It's just before.
just before.
So
yes.
you'll hit start a new game, and then after you'll be prompted to choose your character's race and their specialization, I
Yep.
believe. Yep. And then after that, it'll prompt you to ask you if you want to use the default world state or if you want to use one of your custom world states. So yes, please use the custom world state, and definitely make sure that if you're on console, make sure it's connected to the internet when you export your world state to Dragon Age Inquisition. You can turn it off after that if you'd like. And also make sure that your Origin account is linked up with your PlayStation ID or your Xbox ID, because that links everything together, and that'll allow you to get your world state into Inquisition properly. So if you want to know how to do that, go to help.ea.com. Great resource. Just search for linking your gamer tag, and it'll pop up and give you everything that you need to know.
Yep, we had a few questions about that recently with folks going on to the EA Access early access. But
Yes.
that's usually the best way to do it. And actually, would you mind just going to the confirmation screen?
Yeah.
That's another good way that you can take a look at it, is if you can go to just log out and log back in.
Sorry, guys. See if it listens to me.
And we've had a few questions about this as well. When you first log in, there's a confirmation page that you go through. And on there, it actually tells you whether your gamer tag or your PSN ID is connected to this account. And that's one of the reasons why we have this page for you to confirm. The other one is we use single sign-on. So if you're coming from a different EA site or perhaps a game and you're on a console, this is a good way to make sure that you're still on the same Origin account that you want to actually be using your world state on. But for example, here you can see that you have two PC personas, they're called. If Leah had an Xbox gamer tag, you would see it on here, or a PlayStation ID account, you would see it on here. And as long as that matches the one that you're playing on your console, then once you're in DAI and you go through the new game start flow, what you should see is, if we go ahead and proceed and go back to the timestamp, when you accept to import from the keep, that timestamp information should show up on there. And it looks a little bit cryptic, but it's fairly straightforward. It's the easiest way to confirm that you're on the exact world. If there is any discrepancies, usually what happens is the minute that you make a change in the tapestry, it's basically like editing a file in Windows or something. You now have to save it, so you'll see once you do this, the little red icon has come up again, and that means that if you didn't do the export now, it actually would not capture that last change when you do an import onto the console. So that's one of the reasons why it's important to watch for that icon as you're manipulating your tapestry.
So yes, if you see the red icon and you just made changes, make sure to hit this button, and then you're all good to go.
And one thing as well is, I think this may have been already addressed, but I think when I was playing through the ISS, because you can make changes on there as well, it may also trigger that as well. So if you're coming off of the ISS, you may see the red little arrow icon saying you have to export again.
Yeah, and locking is the other one. If you lock and unlock, it updates the slots, so then it will look red, but you can actually just press export again. It'll be just fine.
Yep, better safe than sorry. Make sure that it's exported before you go into your console and import. But the nice thing is we did spot with some early access folks on Twitter that they were saying that they got their world in and they were starting to see some of the choices, which is really cool. And of course looking forward to more of that feedback once the game actually opens up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, hopefully it's lots of fun. So again, the other piece is that you can now create up to 10 world states to try out all sorts of different worlds. So I can show you here. You can just press plus and they'll come in. Here's the edit buttons for the description, so remember you can add them here, as well as lock, play, randomize, delete, all that great stuff. And we've added the little summary of choices here for you as well. Now the next part would be, once you've started playing Inquisition, we're getting lots of questions around how does my world state show up and different things like that. So we'll show you that you can, you'll start getting playthrough states as you play through Dragon Age Inquisition. So I started my Dragon Age Inquisition game with my version of my favorite world, my Inquisition world, so you can see my little choices at the bottom here. And once I start playing through, let's say I wanted to start a new game or start a game with a different playthrough, I do always have my world state here, so you can go ahead, load that up, and export it if you wanted. Or you can go ahead and copy this over into your playthrough slots. Let's say you wanted to make one more change, so I'll just go ahead and put it back in. I'll make my copy of playthrough 1, and it's right here. I can load it into the tapestry, and I'll just pretend that I wanted to, I don't know, change my romance or something similar. I'll go ahead and do that. I'll make changes and export it in, and that way on the start of a new game of Inquisition I don't have to worry about either changing the state that I created to put in before, but I can go ahead, make changes to what I was playing, and start a new game. So that's kind of how you can take them out of Inquisition, put them in, start a new game, and be all set and ready for that. So I can show you again here. You can access them nice in here, change the names, labels, and as you continue to play or start new games, they'll all file and line up. You can have, I think, infinite numbers of these right now, so we may have to work on that one a little bit, but that's sort of how they show up there. As well, you can obviously play the ones from your friends, so Renata has shared with me
that's nice.
All I Do Is Win.
Yes, that was the state that Justin actually created.
Yeah.
And yes, and it uses Justin the Mage as the protagonist.
Yay.
So yes, Justin is with us always, even if he's not here in person.
He isn't. Oh yes, and I should mention that although we were going to have Jeff and Jeremy with us today, they are working very hard to get the new part of the ISS in for you, so
secret.
We didn't chain them to the desks, etc.
Unfortunately, you got me instead.
Yes. So All I Do Is Win is now happily in. I can go ahead and play it if I want it, and
good. Now you
there you
should
go.
go in and make like all the Alistair choices in
yes.
there.
Yes.
As you can
Just for
see,
Justin.
Justin
just
has
for Justin.
For Justin the Mage.
Oh, I won't do that to him. I feel bad. All right, so we do have a question about removing hairs from the keep. That is a feature we're getting in, so I apologize if your keep is cluttered with some heroes that you no longer want to see. They'll come very, very soon. In the next few weeks, we'll have that functionality in, so please just bear with us. But I should mention that there is a handy toggle to turn on and off your default heroes if you do want to have them not show up. So my nice little mage is hanging out here. And here's all the defaults. So hopefully in the meantime that can help you out. We do have filters as well.
Yeah, those are handy if you do happen to have like 100 heroes or something quite large. Probably the best thing is to start sorting it by either origin story or maybe class or gender, depending on a good way to filter it down for you. And you can also see the banner that says which one is actually currently active in the world.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can jump through them. They kind of jump to the different ones. So that's helpful too. All right.
Let's see, we
Great.
did have, I think, some other questions too, right?
Yes.
Keep Twitch.
I believe that we do.
Great.
Let's see, what else can we talk about? So we do.
Oh,
That's good on the
geez,
chat.
that's nice.
Thank you so much. I think somebody was asking about my mustache as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you don't know already, a lot of folks here at Bioware and elsewhere, EA and elsewhere, we support Movember. So that's kind of growing the mustache. I figured if I was going to do it, I'd have fun with it. It's basically something to support men's health and awareness for different issues, mental health, as well as various things that we all sometimes get, kind of the waist cancers and things like that. So just one of those things that we do. So if you're wondering, that's kind of for the month of November. Sadly, these ladies and everybody else that works with me will have to put up with it. So
Yeah. I was going to say we could probably start growing our own mustaches maybe.
yeah, there's a lot of Mo sisters as well. So
Exactly.
they get the little mustaches as well, which is really nice to see that support too. So
And Cullen's grown a mustache.
Oh,
and
yes.
Cullen
Yes.
is that dastardly dude is on there with this fantastic,
It's
mustache,
squishy, very.
hugely enviable. So all of us fear slightly a bit inadequate with our own facial hair, but that's okay. It's all for a good cause. So that's
Yeah.
that's the important part.
Before we say goodbye today, I actually think there's one question that has been asked quite a bit on Twitter recently is for those who have played The Last Court, the game tells you that
Oh,
decisions are being written to the keep. So how does that work, and when will people be able to see that kind of thing? Or
That's a
where
good
is it going?
Yes. So the decisions that you're making in the last court, we record some of them. So not all of them are being recorded. I think it tells you when they're actually being recorded. So just pay attention to that. They're going into our World Vault system, as we call it, and that's where we power all of the flags that are being read into Dragon Age Inquisition, and they're sitting in there for basically use in the future, which is extremely cool, and we're so glad that you all picked up on that and are interested in seeing your choices being reflected in the tapestry. So we'll work to get those in very soon and have a really
Along
neat
with the DAI
tile.
flags as well. So those will start to come out over the next
Yeah.
couple weeks. It's part of the goal for the keep is to connect all the ancillary products. So the last court being one of those. So right now there's no future product yet lined up to use any of that information. So there's no choices that reflect within Dragon Age Inquisition, for example. But it's part of our goal to capture these things so that if a future product wanted to reflect some of the choices that you made, or perhaps how you left Soro, that we could use it in a future product, and it's there, and it'll be kind of reflected. And then, of course, the tapestry as part of your history of the world will start to reflect some of those things as well. And then, Leah, you brought up the Inquisition tapestry tile here, so saying feature coming soon. Hopefully, you guys have seen that. It's a really cool looking tile. I think maybe next week we may have some things to talk about in terms of how spoilers are going to get shown, or not, rather, in terms of how we
spoiled.
handle the DAI tiles that are being recorded. But the one thing is, if you're curious as to whether choices are being recorded, then those playthrough states that Leah showed, as long as that playthrough slot is coming in, then the choices are being recorded, and then once the tapestry starts to include DAI tiles, those will start to appear. And that's just something that we've been working at with the game team, when exactly is the right time to start to reveal those. But hopefully next week we can already talk about how we handle spoilers, and give you maybe even an indication of when those will start to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something to look forward to.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Soon.
have fun playing the last court this weekend. Get your
Yeah.
tapestries ready. Hit the
Yeah.
export button.
Mhm. We
Yeah.
will have a tutorial up for you as
Oh,
well
yes.
that's coming soon on how to load your or exported world state into the actual game. So we'll have instructions, screenshots, everything, so you'll have a handy place of reference on where to go and what to do, so you won't get lost.
And then the really cool thing is the video that we showed earlier. So there's the a bit of the new ISS, which has Varric narrating the events exactly between DA2 and Dragon Age Inquisition. So that is actually being added on along with a couple of new new pieces of the ISS that was not shown in that video. That was now being added to the ISS in the Keep. So soon we'll have to talk to Jeff if you're watching. Make it go live.
Go.
Probably later on today, if you hit the play button, you'll actually see a couple of additional minutes, I think,
Yep.
towards the end of DA2 that helps to bridge the ISS story into right up to the events of Dragon Age Inquisition, which is really cool.
But we will tweet the all clear when that is out.
Yes.
Yes.
Poor
Look
Jeff.
for Dragon Age on Twitter to confirm that, or you can just bother Jeff. That's fine too. I
Oh,
think he
poor
won't mind. All right, guys. I
Alright.
think that was it for us this week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
cool.
it.
Yeah.
Thank
Have
you
fun.
so much, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks
for
again
those
for
of
joining
you
us,
who
and we'll
missed
see you
it
next time.
earlier, yeah, we're going to roll the mini ISS again, so you guys can see what happens right before Inquisition in case you missed it.
Very
All
cool.
right.
Thanks for joining us.
Exciting.
See you
Cheers.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thetis is a land filled with many dangers, dragons, darkspawn, and terrible magic. Empires have risen, fallen, and been forgotten. In the Dragon Age, the one element that binds us together and protects us is the guidance of the Chantry. Magic exists to serve man and never to rule over him. With that line, the Chantry has kept mages under its thumb for 1,000 years, locking them up in the circle of Magi towers under the careful watch of Templar guardians. All of that changed in Kirkwall. There the Templars went too far, and the mages finally rose up against them. It was a battle that drowned the city in blood, a battle that didn't end even when the fighting stopped. It became a sign of the days to come. The Mage Rebellion in Kirkwall was felt throughout Thetis, the news spreading like wildfire. The Templars clamped down in response, but each new restriction only made things worse. Led by Grand Enchanter Fiona, the mages voted for independence. The Circle of Magi would govern itself, without the Chantry and especially without the Templars. The result was cataclysmic. 2 circles were destroyed. Those within killed to the last mage, before the rest fled into the wilderness. Perhaps the mighty Empire of Orlais could have intervened in the war before it began, but that was not to be. Grand Duke Espard began a deadly civil war against Empress Celine, vying for the Orlesian throne. The mages were offered safe haven in neighboring Ferelden, but the Templars followed, and so their battle spread across all of Thetis. As head of the Chantry, Divine Justinia ordered the Templars to stand down. They refused, declaring their own independence. Thus, the war began in earnest. Templars hunting mages, mages fighting Templars. Their clashes wreaked untold destruction, and all sense of order was falling to pieces. Divine Justinia made one final desperate bid to end the war. She approached the leaders of both sides and convinced them to come to a conclave held on neutral ground. With the Chantry to mediate, mages and Templars will talk for the first time since this all began. It is our last, and perhaps our only, chance for peace.